Welcome to episode 7 of Gumbo Life, the podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Colson-Ante, and with us today is Dr. Moriah Istre. She serves her community in the Acadiana region of South Louisiana as a health coach, multilingual folklorist, independent filmmaker, and professional dancer, choreographer, and instructor. She founded the company Flourish Forever, directed and produced a documentary film, First Cousins, Cajun and Creole Music in South Louisiana, and established her own dance business, LA Danse. Moriah created an innovative fitness program called ZydaFit and operates as a partner with the 50-year-old multi-million-dollar health and wellness Juice Plus company that operates in more than 20 countries. Dr. Moriah Istre Hargrave appreciates every opportunity to share her passion for health, culture, and dance at home and abroad. This is a great conversation, you guys. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm really excited today to have my friend, Dr. Moriah Istre. She's recently, well, I guess not that recently married, so it's Hargrave now too, but I've always known her as Moriah Istre. We met several years ago, many moons now. You have been on a journey since then, Moriah, and through the Creole Heritage Center for a while, we did a scholarship. And you and your sister were one of the first recipients of that and did some great work from it. And since then, you have gone on to do incredible things. What happened after that scholarship? What's been your path to now?
Well, thank you, Tracy, for having me and for remembering the impact of that scholarship. That was really special. I was working on my doctorate at the time and just really felt honored to have received that Creole Heritage Scholarship. And at that point, I was a new student in the doctoral program for Heritage Studies at Arkansas State. And then I went from there to finishing the documentary film. That was really the center of my research. At that time, I was collecting different interviews from Cajun and Creole musicians, and also we had filmed several shows and then added some historical context and some living history reenactments to make that film. And so that documentary was pretty much what I was researching throughout my PhD. And then when I finished, I was able to really just go full throttle and wrap up the film and then premiere it. And when we premiered it, we did that in conjunction with Festivals Acadiens at Creole and Girard Park. And that was premiered at Angel Hall on the campus at the University of Louisiana. And it was about an 800-seat auditorium that we literally almost sold out. So that was just an astounding turnout for a documentary film. But it was special because a lot of the artists and just different people that gave us feedback afterwards said that was, and these were locals, they said, this is the first time I've looked at my heritage and been proud. Mm-hmm. And that was really shocking to me. And these were Cajuns. I had Creoles telling me that. I had just a mixture of people telling us that they had really kind of struggled with being put down and felt like this was a film that actually, they could identify with, and that they were proud to be a part of, culture that they were proud to have come from. And so, so that was a really neat response. And then once we did the film, we were able to travel with it. We aired it on LPB, and it's just been really well received in France and Canada at different events in those countries. And yeah, we did a lot with the film, and then I started some other things. I dance, and I also am into health and fitness.
And she says I dance, but she's not saying that she's an incredible dancer. Like big time. So if you watch any videos on Facebook of Zydeco dancers, I promise you that you have probably seen her because she's amazing.
Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome. I'm just saying, I'm always showing my husband, I'm like, look. And because it's been a challenge to get the 6'10" guy to be comfortable enough to to go out there and dance. So you have to come over one day is the moral of the story.
Okay,
Um,
all
and
right.
get him convinced and comfortable. But and that's how a lot of my friends and people that I know knew you is from you dancing at different events. And then you started Zytofit.
Yes.
And I was just telling you that I have a friend of mine on Facebook that was videoing herself um, doing your video and kind of mentioned something about it. And I was like, oh my God, that's my friend. And everybody was asking, where'd you get that from? Because her whole thing was, I can't go to the gym. I'm trying to be safe because of COVID. So this is how I'm getting my workout in. So it's spreading. But talk a little bit about that.
That's so fun to hear. I love hearing those kind of stories. Well, with Zotafit, that came about when I had the idea for that whenever I was at ASU, and my sister Elesta and I were in the same doctoral program, and we would go and work out after we had our research day. We would work on the dissertation from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m., and then we'd hit the gym. And every time we go to the gym, they had different classes like Zumba or hip hop aerobics or whatever, just, a lot of different classes. And they were fun, but we really missed home. And I remember telling her one day, I was like, I would love to teach a Zydeco fitness class. And so she said, well, why don't you do it then? And I was like, well, I mean, I'm in the middle of all this. I don't know if I can do it now. And she was like, well, I think that that's something you should definitely consider. You love to dance and you love health. You've always been passionate about fitness and stuff. You should definitely merge the two. And so that was when that little idea was birthed. And I can remember where we were standing and where we were headed to. And we were literally walking into the gym when she just turned to me and said, well, do it then. And so that was about 4 years before we launched. And when we launched, I was wanting to make it fun. I know people enjoy going dancing and they love to Zydeco, but a lot of times that's attached to just a party atmosphere. And so, it's fun, but it's not always healthy.
Yeah.
It's not always the most healthy environment. You're dancing so that you don't die because you're eating so much and you're drinking so much, so the dancing just kind of helps, level some of those things out. So I was like, this would be a really fun way to, just keep it safe, keep it happy. Sometimes the trail rides can get a little crazy, and, people just don't really prioritize health in Louisiana, probably the way they do in other areas of the world. And I just wanted to put a positive spin with with my passion for the culture and with health as well. And so that's when we started really collaborating with other trainers and health coaches and just kind of finding what they thought would be the best thing. And of course, I was choreographing the dancing and that sort of thing. And then we decided to work on a workout video and put together a DVD with 2 different levels and launched that in March of 2018. And then we had a big free event and people came out and we did demos and just shared a lot of info and started teaching classes regularly. And I mean, people have really, really, really enjoyed it because they said that for them, it's like the Louisiana version of Zumba. And so there's just something, I think, that when people are hearing their own music and they have that rhythm already kind of ingrained. And so it's something that they quickly can catch on to and they're really familiar with. And for people outside of the area who have experienced Zytofit, it's just like a big festival. They love it.
Yeah. And I think that you're absolutely right. And that's one of the things that I love the most about it is that from the community health side of it, we are Louisiana is placed so low, and I do a lot of work in community health, and we're like 56 out of 64 parishes in St. Landry Parish for health outcomes, and that's not a good place to be.
No.
And that's why I thought that Zodafit was so awesome, because it was putting together the things that we know and that is part of the culture and part of who we are, and making it fun and not making it seem like, oh, I'm actually working out. But anybody that's ever Zydeco gone to a trail ride, to a festival, and danced all day knows that you better bring a dry shirt with you, and be ready to sweat. And it's gonna, that's out of Louisiana people. That's why you see everybody with their bandanas in their back pockets. It's a workout. It's a workout big time. So that's what I thought. I was like, this is so great. This is what we mean by finding healthier alternatives to the ways that we live culturally. And I think you just did such a fantastic job of doing that.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you. I've had a lot of partners along the way, just people that have really linked arms in the community to say, hey, why don't you bring Zodafit here? And we want to introduce this to this community center, or this church community, or whoever. And so it's been very well received, and that definitely makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's not the only dance project you have. So you also have La Danse. Um, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. LA Danse is the name that we came up with for my dance business that really focuses on partner dancing. So, a lot of people come to me and they want to learn what they say is the fancy stuff, like the fun footwork, or just kind of the extra stuff. Or some people are just literally learning how to dance for the first time, and they just want to start with something that they're familiar with, like Cajun dancing or Zydeco dancing. And so that is also a workout, but it's not, we don't package it as a workout, but it is. And we teach traditional Cajun waltzes and two steps. And then we do the super not traditional Zydeco slides, and just all the different styles of Zydeco that I've been able to pretty much narrow it down to like 5 styles of Zydeco dancing. And that's what I've been really hammering out throughout the years, and all the instruction that I would do. I started realizing, okay, there's a need to kind of break this down, because I would usually just follow. And for me, it came pretty naturally. And I understood that, okay, they're dancing a little differently out here in Beaumont, East Texas, than they are out in Opelousas. And so I just would kind of pick it up. But for some people, within the Creole community, I remember just many times over people saying, well, I don't dance like they dance out in Burbridge. I have no idea what kind of Zydeco they're doing out there, and other people would say, well, I don't know how they're dancing out here, because there are different styles. And so just having done it for so long, I've been able to kind of break it down for people and help them with understanding what kind of styles there are. And then they choose whichever ones they want to learn and master, and we kind of go from there. But I've been doing private dance lessons and group events for many years, and we finally decided, because I guess I'm getting old and I can't do so many private dance lessons as I was doing before. It's super taxing on me physically, and so I've been wanting to do this anyway. But when COVID hit this year, it really just provided an opportunity for me to take this back burner idea and put it on a front burner real project. And we have been working on a dance instructional video. So I will have most of the styles that I've ever taught packaged in this dance instructional video. And one of the fun little facts about it is that we've been partnering with different musicians whose music we use for the instructional dance. So, we actually have the artist partnering with me. I have the instructional part where I'm teaching either with my husband or my sister. And then we have the demo part where I'm actually dancing with the artist themselves. So it's pretty fun.
So awesome. You have such a good relationship with so many Zydeco musicians and Cajun musicians in the area. How did that come to be?
Well, I think it started whenever I was working as a grad assistant. I was working on my master's at UL, and that's when I decided to write my master's thesis about the print media coverage. I was getting a communication master's, and so we were looking at the print media coverage for that festival. And it was something that my professor really just wanted to, it was kind of a hole in the research. And so he suggested it. And of course I was cool with it. And that's the direction that we went. And that, but my communication committee really just wanted me to focus on the quantitative analysis of all the statistical research and stuff, which that's not how my brain works at all. I gave them what they wanted, but that wasn't what I was enjoying. I really wanted to take more of a qualitative approach and actually interview the artist and get their feedback as well. And so when I did that, that's when I started just hearing so many great stories, and they're funny, they're entertaining, they're completely inappropriate at times. And it was just like, you know what, I think people need to hear some of these stories. They need to hear, that they need to get their personality off stage too, because they're not just here to perform and entertain. Like, they have some cool histories and backgrounds and stories. And so that's when we got the idea for the film. And then once the film came out, I think, because I'll be honest with you, Tracy, I mean, at the beginning of this, some of the people who really didn't know me, they were a little reticent. They didn't, I mean, here's this 20-something-year-old, who's just a college student and saying that she's going to put their performance and their stories in a film. And, they a lot of them trusted me because they had seen me at their shows and pretty much watched me grow up. But I didn't talk to just the people that I knew. I also wanted to get people that I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And those were some of the people that felt a little bit nervous. And I remember telling one of the artists, I said, look, I have to go to the store, and my face is, I'm not going to be able to hide. I said, we're in the same community together. So it's not like I can just go and do a horrible job and not fear being outcast. That's, if I don't do a good job. Like, this is my reputation on the line way more than it's yours, because I still have to go out. And once they saw, I mean, some of them, and I'll say, I mean, that was just like maybe one person that I can remember specifically that felt that way. But for the most part, they were just super open and excited that somebody cared enough to hear them more than just, do their song and dance and performance. And it really kind of just opened the door for us to capture more than just a performance. And it wasn't a quick drive-by shooting. Like, we would literally go and, we hung out at Gino's house all day, ate gumbo, just hung out. We went to, we pretty much planned a whole day for each shoot. So we were never rushed, and we took our time. We got, we hung out, we got to know, and we didn't just go in there for our purposes. And then once we had the premiere, we had the red carpet, we had the limos, we were able to just put on a really beautiful event that they were impressed with. And the coolest thing about the film premiere was that before we even hit play, and I think you were there, weren't you, Tracy?
Yeah.
So you probably remember whenever we introduced the artists who were featured in the film, before we even showed the film, they got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
And I remember Steve Riley telling me, Moriah, I've never had that in my hometown, like at an event like that, where I didn't have to play a lick of anything. Mm-hmm. Nobody, it wasn't about that. It was about honoring these tradition bearers and these people who represent us on a global scale all the time. And to have that kind of a reception in their hometown before they even saw the film, it was just really, really special to a lot of the artists. And so I think that was probably the biggest thing. I mean, they saw the results of our work, and they know I'm not just making up, they've seen me dance, they've seen this, around. We don't just go and it's not always just work. There's a lot of play. And that's one of the things that I think is important as a researcher is you don't just go to these events just because. I mean, I love it. That's who I am. It's what I do. So that's, I think, why they trust us so much.
Yeah. And that's such a huge factor. And that's the reason why I asked that question is that, they knew that you were coming from a very authentic place and not of, I'm trying to take something that is special and important to you, but I want people to acknowledge you and understand the work that you've done and the impact that it's made on us culturally. And that a lot of times it's more than a song and it's more than just one performance. It's family history and it's what a family does. And it's stories about perseverance. And you guys just did such a great job of showing what that true story was, that authentic story. And I understand, and we've talked about this before. It's hard sometimes to get people to open up, and you really have to kind of pay your dues and do the hard work to get to that point. And you definitely did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks. We definitely genuinely care. And I remember one interview that I did actually on a totally different project. It was our assistantship, our fellowship, whatever it was in our doctorate program. And that's when we were working on the Johnny Cash Festival and project. And Elesta and I had gone to Nashville, and we were sitting in Tommy Cash's living room and talking to him about growing up in the little town of Dice where he and his family grew up. And for probably the first hour, every question that we asked, he would somehow reference it back to his brother, just talking about JR is what they called him. And of course he became known as Johnny Cash, but it was just JR this, JR that. And so after about an hour of that, I just kind of sat back in my chair and I said, Mr. Tommy, I really appreciate all these stories about your brother. I do, but I really want to hear what it was like for you to grow up in Dice. And he just kind of looked at me. And after that, I mean, Tracy, when I tell you all the formality just got washed away, and he just got so comfortable. And we literally talked for another 3 or 4 hours and just visited. And he just relaxed, he laid back, but they're so used to interviews, and they're so used to having to be perfect and, say things in an appropriate and professional way. And this was just like, oh, you care about me?
Yeah. You want to hear about me, my story?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, we have stories of JR. Like, I mean, that's cool. We love him. He's amazing. And yes, we understand that. I mean, he is beyond, a superhero. Like, we understand his superstar impact, but we would really like to know what it was like for you. And when he got that message, he was giving us original photographs from his grandparents when they originally immigrated from Scotland. And he was like saying, you can have these to make copies. And I was like, no. I said, you're going to come with us to Walgreens. And he said, I trust you completely. He just like in the voice of Cash, like they all have that kind of deep, grovelly voice. Yeah. And so it was just really, it was really special. And I think that's one of the things that I really try to keep in mind is I'm in this moment with this person, and it's not about your audience and your fans and your fame and your fortune or how your popularity has even decreased. I mean, there's something we all bring to the table. There's some value to everyone. And I love to know what that is and celebrate that.
Where do you think, and I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you talk, and I'm thinking about all the things that you've done. Where do you think your passion for the culture, for the language, for the dance, for the music, where does that come from for you?
Well, Tracy, when I was young, I think God has a sense of humor, for one, because when I was a lot younger, I remember going to a Simcoe meeting where they had a Cajun band performing. And I just literally was like, what is this chanky chank? And they're not even speaking English. Why would they do that? And that was my 6-year-old mentality. And I think God just has a sense of humor. I really, I didn't even learn French, and I learned Spanish first. I was in 6th and 7th grade. We were homeschooling, and I, I wanted to learn Spanish because I thought it would be more practical. And then my grandparents, both sides spoke French, but never spoke it around us really. You know what that's like. They would just speak it a little bit so that, we couldn't understand what they wanted to say. But it wasn't like they, were proud of their heritage and proud of their language. Not in my families. And so it wasn't until I got to high school that I decided to take French as well, because I had traveled to Switzerland, and I met a girl there. She was 17. We were both 17 at the time, and she really didn't speak English. And so we were trying to communicate, and her mom was from Spain. Her dad was Swiss. And that's kind of what really pushed me to start learning French, was from a random chance encounter with this girl in Switzerland. And so I started taking French and really loving it. And I think the ability to communicate with that many more people, I just love people. I genuinely love to be around people. I love to learn about them. And so I think the language thing, and then traveling in other places and seeing Louisiana in a different way, it made me more proud to be from where I was, because I think culture is fascinating. We've been to a lot of countries. I think my sister hit 40 countries on her 40th birthday. She's been all over the world. And my mom has always loved to travel. She'd go backpacking. My dad hiked the Appalachian Trail. They're very adventurous, and they love to explore new areas and meet different people. And so I think my fascination with other cultures is what really impacted my view about my own culture and made me so proud. And when people ask where I'm from, I never say just anywhere. Like I say Lafayette, Louisiana. So, I'm proud to be where I'm from, and I want people to know, what it's like, because it is so special. And the more you travel, the more your world gets open, the bigger it is, the more appreciative people tend to be, to know how special home is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always, I am always surprised, and I'm always very proud especially when I'm outside of the state and I'm presenting or at an event, and you see people, so they're genuinely so interested and so appreciative. And, it's like when we did the Spirit of a Culture documentary many years ago, I use that. I tell everybody this all the time. I use that film. I would send it to school with my oldest the first week or two of school for the teacher to show, so that people would quit asking him what he was.
Wow.
I literally just sent the video because it was the best way for people to understand. And when we first showed that, it was a very small gathering, and it was just, kind of the initial just viewing of the film. But there's, it's probably 7,500 people there. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, people turned around, they looked at my mom, and they looked at me, and they just said, "I'm sorry."
Wow.
And it was, that being misunderstood, or people not feeling like they really could understand until they saw that film. And I think that is a lot of what your film did as well. But, and it's like I've told, both you and your sister before, it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of bravery to do this work sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's not always the easiest, and you guys didn't pick the easiest path or topic or subject, but you picked what you loved. And you guys have just done such a great job with it, and it's really impacted the community and the culture. But it really shows how passionate you are about preserving our culture and who we are. And that's we don't have a whole lot of people that are doing that, and that's, we're losing a lot of those cultural bearers. And, with your film, you were able to put that on film forever. And I think that's what's so important about it. That's what I preach to everybody. I'm like, there's no reason why you can't record your family story and your history because everybody has a phone in their hand. Go interview a grandparent, ask those questions because you're preserving that piece of history forever.
Yeah, and it seems like the easier it gets, the less people care.
Right. Right.
But but you're right, and your film was powerful, and it was so eye opening, and I love the fact that it's highlighting the Creoles in the Natchitoches area too, because that it's like a whole forgotten group of people. Like people don't even know that you guys exist, and that's uh, it's um it's damaging to a, a cultural identity when you're not acknowledging something that's so precious.
Yeah, I know.
But y'all did an amazing job with that as well, and I do appreciate having validation and collaboration from you specifically, because I'm going to be honest with you, Tracy, when Elesta started out on her Creole book and research, she was told straight up by different people who were local, who had tried, from an academic standpoint to connect with the Creole community. And they said, well, good luck with that. You're not going to get anything from them because they're so closed and they're not, they don't like to share. She'd never had that experience, not once. People were extremely open to her, but it was like, because she's fair skinned, you're not going to have any luck with,
Right.
getting into the Black Creole community or whatever. And they're not going to share anything with you and blah, blah, blah. And that was never, ever a factor.
No, and it's because it's our authenticity. Um, that's the true factor, and I think that the Creole community, I know especially in Natchitoches and Cane River, had experiences decades ago, long before me and you, that were negative with people taking information, and just like you're saying, he said, here, take these pictures and go make copies. That happened many times on the river decades ago, and the pictures never came back and the stories were never shared with them, and the outcome was never shared with them. And you guys have done so much towards changing that narrative and being respectful of the story, and I think that's what was missing, and maybe that's why those people made those comments. But it's changed so much, and it's I can't stress enough how imperative it is that we start doing the hard work and, following what you guys have done and telling our own stories.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, let's tell our own stories. But if you don't feel like it's a worthy story to tell, then and you don't have an audience, then why would you bother? And
Right.
so, yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. And Elesta gave a presentation one time. I want to say we were in Eureka Springs, and this girl at the end of the presentation, when she first got there and she saw that Elesta was the speaker talking about some kind of multicultural something, she said, well, she just immediately crossed her arms and thought, what does this white girl know about multiculturalism? And that was her thought process. And so after Elesta finished her presentation, she actually stood up and addressed everyone in that room and said, I just want y'all to know, this is what I thought when I saw a white girl that was going to talk about, cultural diversity or whatever. And she said, and I just want to apologize for having that, that discrimination in my heart towards you. And she went on to tell Elesta just how amazing it was. It was mind blowing. You are genuine, but she didn't know Elesta from Adam. And that is something that we really have got to stop doing that. We have to stop, yes, you can see the color. I don't have a problem. Yeah, I notice color. Who doesn't? Sure, you're going to see the color, but it's not, it doesn't have to define our attitude toward each other. And
Right.
that's the thing I guess I'm trying to say is I really appreciate how you have really embraced us from day one and just celebrated our Creole identity coming from very different Creole cultures and communities, and just really celebrated our accomplishments and kind of cheered and applauded along the way. And it's just meant so much to me, Nalesta. I just really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And I have, like to think that I'm one of your loudest cheerleaders. So when I decided to start doing this podcast, I was like, okay, making my list of who's my dream list of guests that I'd like to have. And so you're definitely in that first round because you've done such great work. And all the things, when, the last time that you saw Mom was at the book signing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And getting her there was not an easy feat, but she was coming.
Oh.
She was coming for you guys. She wanted to see you. She wanted to hug you and kiss you because that it was Mom. But she was always so proud of everything that you guys had done in spite of knowing that you guys had challenges at times where people said, you're probably not going to be able to do that. But instead y'all did it, and you did it in such a great way. But she was really, really proud of both of you and wanted to make sure that she was going to be there that day. Because, it worked out, and, we were living here and everything just worked out perfectly. But that was one of the last big events that she actually went to.
Wow, that's precious.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that she got a chance to see you guys in your natural habitat and not and not just in Natchitoches.
Yeah.
But so you have all this stuff going on, and so everything lives under Flourish Forever. So tell everybody a little bit about that and about the website.
Okay, so Flourish Forever, like you said, is our umbrella company, and it's spelled like the fleur-de-lis, Fleur, Flourish Forever. And we have a new brand, a new design, and that is really just our kind of our motto, and everything that we want people to do is just to flourish and wherever they are, and just blossom in different ways. And of course, so that's kind of the idea behind the name. It's Louisiana, and it's growth, and it's everlasting. And then ZataFit is another, of course, that's our workout, our Louisiana dance workout. And that's, if you just go to ZataFit.com, you'll go straight to the ZataFit page. If you go to ladanse.com, LA, the letters LA, and then the word danse, DANSER.com, that's going to connect you with our dance page. And then we have our film, but that's under Flourish Forever. And so we're always working on different things. We're actually, we just opened up our online store at flourishforever.com, and we're just constantly tweaking and improving. But yeah, if you go check it out now, it's up and running. It's flourishforever.com or zatafit.com, ladanse.com. If you're interested in the film, you just go to the shop and you can purchase the DVD for the film or for the ZataFit workout. And then soon we'll be having our dance instructional video available too.
That's so exciting. I'm so excited. But you still have to come over and and coach Richie in the living room, because that's about as far as I'm going to get him. It's hilarious, and he can dance, and he's like, everybody can see me. I said, everybody can see you anywhere. You can't hide. You're a giant.
That's awesome though. I love that. Yeah, we definitely can do that. That's just and hey, people are going to be able to do this in the comfort of their own living room too.
I know, that's what's going to be so great about it, and nobody's watching, so you can mess up and it'll be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be great.
We're excited. We really, this project has been in the works for, like every other project, for at least 5 years before it comes to fruition. And this one's going to be super special as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be great. I have one final question for you. What is your definition of Creole?
My definition of Creole would be someone who identifies as Creole, whether that's white Creole or Black Creole or Caribbean or African or French or Spanish. There are a lot of different terms, and it's a multicultural, complex term. But I would first say anyone who identifies as Creole. And then the other thing I would say is that it's not something that you can just assume. Like, you can't just come in and be from out of state. Like, I think over time that people who are from a different area or region can settle in Louisiana and eventually intermarry and learn the culture and the traditions and the customs and get familiar with the food and the music and the dancing, and eventually maybe assume a Creole identity, even if they're not originally, like from this area. I think that can happen over several generations. But I do have an issue with culture vultures. I don't appreciate people that come in and just claim to be Cajun or claim to be Creole. I'm not wanting to give permission to that kind of identity claim. But I do think that it's a cultural thing for sure. And it's also for people who are outside of the area. When people are asking me, well, what are Creoles versus Cajuns? I usually get that question. Usually I tell them like this, the most simple, basic answer that's not academic at all would just be Creoles usually refer to a mixed race population in Louisiana that has French origins and African origins. And Cajuns also have a French background, but they're historically got European roots, and they're more, they're white. So you've got like Creoles are like a Black cowboy culture here or agrarian community here. And then you've got just white French descendants as well. And those are usually the Cajuns. So I think my explanation just now is just about as confusing as it actually is, but that's my attempt. It's a really hard thing to define.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's why I ask everybody, because I want people to see that there's a lot of different definitions, but there's a lot of sameness amongst all of them. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for being on my podcast with me. I really appreciate it. I know you got a lot going on, and I appreciate the time to share with everybody all of your great projects. I will be sure to have all of the links and contact information in the show notes and on the blog post. You guys, please go to Flourish Forever and shop. Now's a great time. It's the holidays, hint, hint, to go and pick up a couple of things. But thank you, Moriah. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tracy. I really appreciate being included in any work that you're doing. I think you're amazing, and I'm really, really thankful for your support.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for listening. That was a great conversation. I'm always excited to do anything with the East sisters, and Moriah just provided such great information. If you're interested in finding out more about what she talked about, you can go to her website. It's www.flourishforever.com. That's FLEURISH forever.com. You can also find out more about Zydafit at www.zydefit.com or about her dance instruction video at www.ladanser.com. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Shop Gumbo Life for apparel, face masks, phone covers, home goods, and much more at gumbolife.com, in the official Gumbo Life store, and on Amazon. You can find us on Facebook at Gumbo Life or on Instagram at Gumbo Life Blog. Make sure to tag your Gumbo Life gear, hashtag Gumbo Lifestyle. Music by Cody Cassard. Editing and production by Tracy Ante.